I hated it. I hated the whole I hated the whole experience. Like everything that was magical the first time around was like a dread the second time around. I hated the dialogue. The music was still fire, but I
Yeah.
hated the dialogue. I'm like, you guys talk too damn much. I'm like, get out.
Host Snitchez, and joined as always is my co-host K Ray. How's you doing today, K Ray?
What up? What up? I am doing good. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. So what have you been playing recently?
Recently I've been on the most talked about game in a long time, The Last of Us 2.
Still.
And yeah, still. And UFC 4. That's currently what I'm on right now.
That's the newest one, right?
Yeah. I've been knocking some heads off.
I've never been a big UFC person. Now I will say at work in our break room, like some of my coworkers, they would bring the Xbox in, and the last UFC game, so I'm assuming 3, the one that had Conor McGregor on the front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that became like a regular. And again, I don't know anything about UFC. I don't know any of the people in there. And the last game I played was like Fight Night, not round 3, not round 4. I forget what the last one was. So I was just playing it like a boxing game, just knocking people the hell out.
Hey man, get up in there.
Could not figure out how to make anybody submit in that, but you don't need to submit when they're just unconscious on the ground.
That's kind of like my issue now, because I haven't played a like mixed martial arts game since Pride FC.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the last one I played, and I still feel like their mechanics are pretty much better.
Wasn't that the one that was out on like the GameCube and the PS2 or something like that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
PS2. I still think they did it the best, hands down. But I kind of got sucked up into the hype, because any game that talks about like creating players and and I can fight people, I'm like, you know what? If I see enough of it, or if you hype it up good enough, then I'll probably buy it.
All right. So, since you brought it up, like making a person, is there like a character that you like other than yourself? Is there a character that you just always make in a game?
No, actually, I always, depending on the game, I just try to be creative.
Okay. See, I've got someone that I've made ever since Saints Row 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually where my username comes from. It's a character I made called Snitchez. And the general deal with it is he is just a like angry old decrepit man, which is kind of why it like fed really well into Saints Row, because one, you're going to be stuck sounding like you're 20 something no matter what, and you're always angry, and you're hitting people with dildos and shit like that. But like that's where he came from, and any game that lets me create someone, I try to get him in there. To the point that like that's a little bit of a disappointment if I can't make my old man. Like I got him in Saints Row. I got him in basically any MMO that comes out. I'll create him, and he's always got to be a brawler. Like his focus will always be in like fist fighting if at all possible. Mm-hmm. There is kind of a early version of it. Did you ever play Mafia 2?
Yes, a little bit of it.
So you couldn't create your own person because you were playing as someone that was pre-done. But for whatever reason, they would like they would let you customize the paint of your car and all the way down to the license plate. And this is actually where the name comes from. Is I just found it to be hilarious in a Mafia game that I could just create a car with the license plate that just says Snitchez on it, and that was just always really funny to me for some reason. So that's where my character's name came from. That's what he looks like. No idea why I decided to ever do that. It's just something that's stuck. It's one of the many usernames I'll create and I just stick with, and I like. I mean, as for me recently, I've been getting more into, the retro stuff. That's kind of been my big thing over the past couple of years. And specifically trying to get hold of stuff either that I couldn't get as a kid, or if I can find communities that'll translate stuff. So, Mother 3, I finally got a
like
cartridge of
Remother?
that. No. Have you ever heard of Earthbound?
Yes.
So in Japan, it's called Mother.
Oh,
So
okay. I got you.
Earthbound is technically Mother 2. Mother 3 was, I guess it was supposed to come over here, but for whatever reason, it never did. It was actually supposed to be an N64 disk drive game, and that thing failed, and it just never came out, and they actually made it for the Game Boy Advance. Never came out over here, but there's like this really dedicated community of it that translated it, and we got a guy here in Arizona that makes cartridges and CD games, and he put it on a cartridge so I can
Oh
play it on an
wow.
actual Game Boy Advance. I got another game from him. It's one I played, Seven Mansions. Never came out over here in the U.S., but it's on a Dreamcast disc, so I was playing that.
Oh, that's dope.
Just a quick shout out there, Wizard Reproductions. Like I've posted a bunch about your stuff online, just in terms of what he does. Like I'm used to backups. Like, the big issue with like the Dreamcast was that you couldn't really, well, not saying you couldn't do this, but it was really easy to bootleg for that system. Like
Hmm.
essentially you could make your own boot disk for it, and then if you just put the game on a CDR, it would play. There's a few exceptions to it. Like some multi-disc games will not work for it. That's what you have to do. And what's nice with him is he puts that boot disk on the disk for it. So you just need to put it in the system recognizes it just fine. He gives you like a
Hmm.
nice case and a manual. It looks like something you would have bought off the shelf back in the 90s. It also will cost you about as much as a game would have back in the 90s. But
Are
uh,
those like the many pictures you be putting like on your Instagram?
yeah, a lot of them. If it was a
Okay.
Dreamcast game, then yeah, that was probably one of them. He's also the Shenmue 2 that I posted on there. He did that. So all 4 discs, a case.
Okay.
His stuff is honestly great. So like free shill for him. I think he goes by like Evil Jared on Instagram. That's pretty much how you have to buy stuff from him, unless you know like a couple local stores that'll carry it.
Okay. Makes sense. I remember back in the day, I was trying to find a Digimon game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one it was, but you had actually like had to raise your Digimon and feed it and take it to the bathroom and actually like fight and train it. And depending on how you raise it was how it digivolved.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin ended up like scratching my disc. I'm talking about like destroyed the thing. Like you can take your finger and like run it in there. That's how like deep it was. And I could never find that game anywhere from that point on.
I didn't even know. Was it on Dreamcast or was it?
It was on. I played it
'Cause
on original play. It was Digimon World. I'm looking it up now.
I
Digimon World.
Okay, I think I've heard some people talk about that online recently for it. Digimon was one like I remember watching the first season of the show as a kid.
Hmm.
Never really played any of its games. I did pick up one of the more modern ones when it was on sale on the Switch.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like a weird Pokemon style game. It's not bad. I haven't really given it much of a shot yet, though. That is one that I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of started to become more reminiscent of it, and I kind of want to watch the original show. And I think they just rebooted it.
Yeah, I think they're
Uh,
doing like another one. Like I'm looking at the price now on Amazon for this game, and it says $394.
well, you know what? It it's gone down. It was probably 395 or 400. That is a bargain. You should buy that right now.
No.
I mean, let's put it like this. You could buy that game, or in theory, you could buy a PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
in theory, like we'll know. I know you got the email. I got one. I'm assuming everybody got an email that has a Sony account to sign up for that contest to win a chance to pre-order. I feel like that's when we're finally going to find out how much that system is going to cost us.
I do too. Like when I got the email, like a lot of questions came to mind as far as, are y'all gonna release it this year?
I
I'm
mean,
like,
I still think it's coming out, but I think it's going to be like maybe in the US, 100 people will have one.
yeah,
100,
that's what I'm
200 people.
thinking.
Because, it's great that we know some of these things for it. We know that certain games are going to be like you can upgrade to the PS5 version for free. I am curious to know if that means if I own the physical version, if,
You gotta go digital.
yeah, like I could see them saying, oh, I bought the digital version of it. I can upgrade to the PS5 version of it. I'll say with the Final Fantasy VII remake, I think it would be incredibly stupid for them not to make that an option because part of the thing that took me, I say it took me a while to give 7 a shot, the new one a shot, but I managed to catch it for a deal, was I didn't see the point in getting into a multi-part game this close to the end of the console cycle because I'm like, great, I'm gonna buy it on the 4. It's gonna finish on the 5.
My
And
issue with
oh, go
that
ahead.
was, I'm like, are we gonna pay this one time for this game and you're gonna do like add-ons to finish the game, or am I gonna have to buy or pay $60 for every part of the game?
Oh, 100% you're going to.
Because
Because they know for a fact people are gonna pay that.
I don't know if it's worth it now after beating 7.
Didn't you platinum that game?
Yes.
You platinumed it, and you're like, I don't know if it was worth it. I don't.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
platinum it. And like the first time going through it, it was like magical because I was getting like nostalgia and that was kind of like getting me through like certain scenes and whatnot. And imagine it going from little 8 bits to like what we have now. But playing it a second time, like going through it on hard, oh, I hated it. I hated the whole I hated the whole experience. Like everything that was magical the first time around was like a dread the second time around. I hated the dialogue. The music was still fire, but I
Yeah.
hated the dialogue. I'm like, you guys talk too damn much. I'm like, can I just get through?
I'm just saying this is our first episode. Let's try not to lose people until about 30 minutes into it.
I don't know. I think they'll agree. I have
Yeah.
a friend now that's playing, and he was like, "Dude, like, how did you like even get past like the 3rd chapter?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. It sucks going through it the second time, especially on hard because some of the enemies they just hit ridiculously hard for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I set up everything like before I went into the second phase. I maxed out every material I had on possession, not just the one I was gonna use. Like every single one, I maxed out every levels. I had all the strongest gear, and I think towards the like chapter probably 14 and up,
Mm-hmm.
there was some enemies that the ones that fly and shoot the little flamethrower, like those were like the bane of my existence.
I don't know what it is with like Japanese games, specifically like their action RPGs. If you put in a flying enemy, it's like it just breaks whatever game system they have going.
Yes.
There's been so many that I've played, so many that I've seen other people play that the moment a flying enemy like gets into it, it either screws with their controls or it messes with your camera or it just does something. Really, I'd say the only big complaint I had with it was like your AI companions. Like I think this is, Square is finally starting to nail, the action game they've been wanting to make since I guess
Forever.
yeah. They're finally getting to that point that they're doing what they're doing. They were close with Final Fantasy, I don't know, Beautiful Boy Adventure, the one where you're on the road trip and you were the prince.
Or 15?
I think it was 15, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it was
I liked
15.
15. Still haven't played any of the DLC for it, even though I have it, but never played through it again. But like that always seemed to be what was halting them is they just couldn't figure out how to do real-time action. And I think they finally nailed it. The AI is still incredibly dumb because essentially like I really liked using Barrett in the remake.
Yeah, me too.
And Barrett had some of the best, I'm not gonna say the best limit breaks, but he had some of the better abilities in terms of like being able to tank damage or, he was range. He was essentially one of your few real range people next to Aerith.
Yeah.
And the problem is if you just let the AI control him, then he wouldn't do anything. Like I could deal with the fact that he wouldn't do commands unless you tell him. I like that, but he wouldn't even really charge his AP bar very much.
Yeah, I agree.
And really, that was kind of an issue with every person for it. Like, if I needed a healer, I better be controlling Aerith.
Yeah, I pretty much manually did everything. I'll switch over here, command this person, switch over here, build our little ATB gauge, switch over here. Like, I didn't let my people do anything, pretty much.
And I know that there's like going to be people out there who are saying, well, that's the point of the game. You're supposed to be switching around. You're supposed to be doing whatever.
Yeah.
There is no reason why shouldn't be just a basic little AI to say, make them aggressive or make them defensive or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to say, like, there's no reason, Barrett, why you should not be attacking ever. There's no reason why Barrett and Aerith, to do most of their abilities good, they should always be attacking. So just go somewhere, even if there was like a little crosshair I could put in, I could just say, Aerith, go there, Barrett, go there, never stop attacking.
I
I
agree.
can keep track of the boss, so if, it decides to pounce on you and start kicking your ass, I can switch to you.
Or switch from you.
Exactly. I'd say the only boss that gave me any real trouble in the game early on and even in the hard mode run was that house. I thought it was a great little cameo.
Yeah.
And the
Hell
house
House.
itself, Hell House wasn't really
Mhm.
a difficult boss fight on the second playthrough because you know what you need to have with you to beat it. The first time I fought it, I think it took me like 45 minutes just because I didn't have all the elemental abilities on me at one time. And yeah, I get that that's my fault, but
Uh, I wouldn't really say it's your fault. I mean,
like I think also at that time you don't have access to being able to carry all of the elements that you want to, plus your healing, plus
hmm
anything like that. And I will say I replayed through what boss was it? It's the same mission where you meet Jesse's dad, well, Comatose dad, the guy on the motorcycle that they build up to be something
Roach.
major, and then yeah, they show Roach, they build him up, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a cool guy for the rest of the game. Never again.
Yeah.
Um, that was I get the point of build up. I hope he's a bigger role in the next game, but as of right now, I was
hmm
like he could have been gone. He served no major purpose other than to be cool guy on bike. Uh,
Yeah.
the only reason I played through that stage so many times is I didn't realize the materia that you do that casts it multiple times. I can't remember what it's called. In the original game, it was just called all. But they call it something else in this new one. I didn't realize that those ones were set, so you couldn't get multiple of them by replaying the stage, like you could a bunch of the others.
Oh,
So
yeah,
like
like
I finished it a second time, realized I forgot it, and then replayed through the stage again. So I had to hear that whole speech about Jessie and her dad, and not really mandering with anything in the story. I get it, Shinra bad. I say we should stop shitting on this game, and then I continue to shit on it for like 5 minutes. Uh,
I skipped all dialogue, so I didn't listen to nothing. I'm like, nope, 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 nope.
oh,
Unless
well,
it was like
that's great,
passive
except for
dialogue.
that's my issue, and that's become kind of an issue I have with a lot of modern games. They're great on your first playthrough.
Yeah.
That dialogue that's just there as you're walking and it's meant to be like character building moments, those aren't very good on your second playthrough. Sometimes they can be. Sometimes you'll pick up on something you didn't before. This was not one of those games.
Yeah, this
Um,
one didn't execute that for me. Like other games I've played and watched other people play that I already beat, like the Uncharted series or Last of Us or even the last God of War, like
mhm,
their dialogue was fine to me,
mhm,
like going through it a second time.
mhm.
But this one, I'm sorry. People out there probably mad, probably breaking stuff, but I'm sorry. The dialogue sucked the second time. I'm like, bro, stop talking to me. Like, yeah, I don't care that you don't want me to tell Jesse I know about her daddy. Like, we going to her house.
I will say this, like, I brought this podcast idea to you like a couple of months back.
hmm
So I've been trying to capture footage for different things over time, and after finishing seven, I was like, maybe I'll go back and replay the original Final Fantasy VII.
hmm
And I didn't. Okay, so for starters, I didn't replay through the entire game. I just played through the section that the remake consisted of. So
Okay.
basically, up until you leaving Midgar. And I played, I did the new version of it that came out on PS4, but I didn't do the unlimited health and magic. I didn't do the speed up or anything like that. I played it through like if I was playing it on the original PS1. I'll be honest, the flow was just so much better in that version of it. I said on Twitter a long time ago when they said it was going to be multiple parts and that the remake was going to be, something like 40 or 60 hours long, however long they said, it
hmm
wasn't true. I was like, everything you're saying, Midgar is going to be this big area. Midgar was your tutorial basically in the first game. It got you party management. It got you like basic understanding of everything. It took me,
Yeah.
I think it was like 6 hours to get through it. And in the remake, it was just padding. It's like I don't care what anyone says. If I have to break another box for those kids, if I have to go into the arena again, if I have to, what is his name? Like
You didn't like whack a mole?
Whack-A-Mole was great up until I started grinding it for medals to get everything in those shops. They did do some cool stuff. I like that, a minor character, like when I played the remake, I assumed that there was a new character, Johnny. I thought that was a new guy. And then I'm actually replaying through 7 and I realized Johnny is actually in it. And he does appear like sporadically throughout the game later on, because I do remember seeing him later on. He just looked like a generic, human character thing. I liked that the doorman, the one who Corleone stole his wife, he is technically in 7, although he is just an NPC character. Even the Sephiroth clones, spoiler, to a game that's basically taking the same story. Um, like, I remember that being a thing. I don't remember ever encountering weird guys with tattoos in the original game as early on as you do, but yeah, you do. So, they did do a good job of upgrading it. Oh god, that padding. That's all I can say. I just didn't like doing all the other stuff. The stairwell, though, I'm glad they kept that in.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
All right. So
They're
we've
gonna
been
be like,
talking for a
bro.
bit,
They're gonna
but
be like,
we
yo, what is this podcast? A hate on Final Fantasy?
yeah, I mean, if you know me, I can do that all day. Uh, so
Really
there is actually a topic for this episode. It isn't just us BSing for, however long it's been. And the topic for this one is going to basically be, what are 5 games that we find to be overrated, 5 games that we find to be underrated. I just want to know, what do you want to start with?
I guess I'll go underrated.
Underrated?
Let's do underrated, yeah.
You mind if I go first?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to say I actually have an honorable mention for my underrated, because I really wanted to throw it on here, but if I threw it on here, basically everything under it would basically be my entire top 5 list. So one of my favorite handheld systems is actually the Neo Geo Pocket. Not a lot of people really know that it was a thing because Game Boy killed it like everything else. Great little handheld, little micro switch joystick, had some great fighters on it, had some great didn't really have RPGs on it, but had some great action games. And if you know Neo Geo, then you know it was basically known for King of Fighters and Metal Slug, and it's got both of those. And it is by far my all-time favorite handheld, and it's finally starting to get some recognition. The Switch has actually started getting ports of some of its games. The first one they actually got was Gal Fighters, which I was happy about because the cartridge alone for that goes for about $100. So $7 on Switch Marketplace. Yeah, the Switch controller sucks, but I'd rather, spend $7 than 100.
I agree.
So that's just my little honorable mention. And I guess I'll go into what my main one is, unless you want to go.
No, you can go ahead.
All right. So my first game is Alien Infestation on the DS.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of this one or no?
Yes.
Okay, I love this game. Like, I'm a huge fan of like Metroidvania style games. I want to say it's other than, AVP2 and Alien Isolation. This is one of the few good Alien games.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of the few good Alien Marine based games.
That came out like 2011, right?
I don't know the exact year. I know they had bad timing because it was a DS game that came out like 6 months after the 3DS came out. So it was bound to fail. It was published by Sega. I think it was made by WayForward, who does like the Shantae games. If anyone's familiar with those. Actually, let me double check something real quick.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was in like 2011, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because I think Gearbox software helped with that. It was like WayForward and Gearbox.
I don't know. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Gearbox in general, so.
That should have been on your list. Okay, yeah, I just pulled it up. Yeah, 2011 TD side scroller, 2D side scroller, yes. WayForward technology and Gearbox software.
So you know what? So Gearbox can do something good other than Borderlands.
That's going to be a whole nother subject.
I mean, WayForward. Here's the thing: WayForward's a good company for the most part. Like I said, they did the Shantae games that were good.
Mm-hmm.
They did an Adventure Time game that I honestly think is great, especially if you like Zelda 2. They did a Contra game that was good. River City Girls supposedly is good. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I don't care what anyone has to say. Silent Hill Book of Memories, 100% it is a shit Silent Hill game, but it is actually a decent dungeon crawler game. Should have never been tagged with Silent Hill. Should never have been tied into it. But on its own, I think it's an all right game. I thought they did an MMA game, but no, they did a WWF game on the Game Boy Color.
Okay.
But for the most part, you can't go wrong with a Way Forward game, especially if you like 2D side scroller like action games or the Metroidvania style ones. You can't go wrong with them.
All right, so you got Aliens Infestation.
Yep.
All right, I'll throw one in the mix. One of my first ones I threw on there was Resistance 3. I remember when I first seen Resistance when the PlayStation 3 came out, and that was like one of their little launch title and demo games, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, because the graphic changed. And then I got Resistance 1, and 1 and 2 were fun, and they did actually sell great on the system. And then for some reason, everybody hated 3. So like when I got it and I played it, I was like, am I like amongst the minority? Because I was like 3 is actually the best one out of the series.
I guess I'm in that like large group of people. I actually never played 3. I know I played the first one. I know I played the second. I think it might have been like a lot of people were turned off in the second game because I think the guy you played in the first one gets killed at the end of the second one, right?
Yes.
And I think maybe people were just so upset by that because I mean the setting of the Resistance games were fun. Just for whatever reason, I never picked up the third one.
Yeah, because at first I listened to like people, I'm like, yo, it sucks, so I didn't get it, and then I think I was at a GameStop or somewhere, and I was like, you know what? I ain't got nothing to play. Let me go ahead and grab it. And yes, I was, because I remember coming home. I was in the military then. I remember I came home from the military, and me and my brother literally played it and like beat it. And we were like, bro, what is wrong with people? I was like, the story was better, the action was better. I was like, it was nothing. I don't see what was wrong with it.
So let me ask you this, because you said you were playing it with your brother. Could that have skewed your opinion a little bit? Like, if someone was playing this by themselves, do you think the co-op makes it that much better, or do you think even by itself it would still be a solid title?
Well, I played it by myself originally, and then I played it with him.
Okay.
So yeah. So to answer your question, I don't think it mattered. I don't think it mattered. I think you probably are right. I think that people were more so upset with the main character dying at the end of 2 that they didn't want to get on 3.
Because I know they had a Vita game too that was like, I think it was called like Burning Skies or Shattered Skies or something. Again, I never played that one.
Yeah, I didn't play
because for the most part, not a lot of people played the Vita in general. I own a Vita, and I only own, not counting digital games, I only own 1 physical game for that right now. No, wait, that's a lie. I own 3 physical games for the Vita. Took me a second. I had to remember that. I do think the Vita is an underrated system, but
yeah, I mean,
but nobody played it. Nobody wanted to play it, and I think Sony just mismanaged that system.
Yeah, because I was not nothing made me want to go, hey, I want to go get a Vita.
$50 made me want to go and get a Vita. Like, I was just in like a used bookstore back in North Carolina, and they were just selling one for $50, and I was like, okay, it's $50. If I don't like it, then it was $50. I might be able to sell that to someone else for more than that. So, but I've kept it. It's a decent little handheld. It's kind of like the opposite, I'd say, of Nintendo's issue is, I say Nintendo for the longest time, their handhelds were amazing, their consoles were kind of eh. But Sony, your consoles are great. Just stay out of the handheld market for a bit until you figure out what you're doing.
I agree. You can give me my PlayStation 5.
You're like, I have the money. I want to give you the money. Just tell me how much of it you want. Like,
yes. So like, let me know so I can actually get it. Send me no random email.
All right. So my next one is there's a game on the PlayStation 1 called Galarians.
Whoa. I don't think I played that.
It's another one of those ones a lot of people never really seem to. It came out around the height of, the Resident Evil, Silent Hills. It's kind of a horror game, but not really. It does use the tank controls, but its big gimmick is that you're a psychic. So, you can, shoot mine bullets, you can set things on fire, you can lift them up. And a Galarian is basically like their version of like a clone that can do psychic stuff. And it's like you're going against Skynet and you get your power. It's one of those ones where the story is weird, the gameplay is kind of weird, but it just oozes like atmosphere. Like, you don't just find out it's like, oh yeah, if they want to use their powers, they need this like drug. That makes sense. Where do you get the drug? You get it from a drug dealer. What does the drug dealer do? He's like, oh yeah, you do it, it's great, you get high, and then you die, unless you're a Galarian.
Okay. Wow.
And it's good. It had a sequel on PS2 called Galarian's Ash. It wasn't made by the same people. It's far more of an action game. I'd say check both of them out. Super cheap game. I think you can get it complete. Let's see. Actually, I've got my copy here. I got it complete in like near mint condition for $20. You're not gonna. I don't know why. I don't know if it's caught in limbo. Sony does not seem to want to put this on their digital marketplace for anything, but it's underrated. If you can't find a copy of the game, they actually redid the cinematics for it and actually turned it into a movie called Galarian's Rion. Again, check it out if you want to play something, especially if you like the Resident Evil games.
Bro, I'm looking at it right now. I had never heard of this. That's crazy.
I'll have to. Do you have a PS2 or a PS3 that can play PS1 games?
I had one. You decided that it was time to go up to the Sony skies.
I was about to say I can. If you ever get another one, I can lend you I'll lend you my copy of it. It is not an easy game. I'm going to say that outright, and it does say on the back it's like 50 hours to finish. No, like it's been a long time since I played it, but I think that number is bogus. I don't know where these developers get their time frames for. I don't know if they're just assuming that we're all dumb and that if it took them 5 hours to finish, it's going to take us 10 times longer.
Is it a short game?
Not really short. It's it's a solid. I think it's 3 discs long.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 3 discs. Most of it is like cinematics. But it's basically one of those games where, when you played Resident Evil 2, well, you have played Resident Evil 2, right?
Yeah.
The original. So, like, you start out on the street, you go to the police station, you go to the sewers, then you go to the Umbrella facility.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like, in this one, the science facility is all of disc 1.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Then, like, your home and the hotel are all of disc 2, and then the big main facility is all of disc 3.
I got you.
But
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really all I got to say about it. Just, it's dirt cheap. If you can find a copy, go find a copy.
All right. I guess I'll give you another one of my underrated games. I'm gonna go with Ni no Kuni Part 1.
I like the style of that game. I never picked it up. I played the demo of it when they released it.
Mm-hmm.
I just never really gave it a chance. I know they re-released it.
Yeah, they did. Actually,
I've heard good things about it. I've just never actually played it.
Like, when I first seen it, I have a friend, PS named Monkey King, and he was playing it. He kept, every time I log on, I always see him playing Ni no Kuni, and one day I was like, "Yo, what is this? What's a Ni no Kuni?" And he was like, "Dude, if you like RPGs, if you like great storytelling, and you want a underrated classic game," he was like, "Get it." And I respect his opinion a lot when it comes to games. So I was like, you know what? I don't know what it's about. I didn't even research it. I was like, I'll try it out. And yeah, I would say personally, he was not lying on that one.
So, like, what's the deal with it? I know in the demo for it, they were talking about like filling people's hearts or something like that, or like. The demo did not do a good job of really selling me on that game. But the thing is, you're not the only person to tell me like it's in their top 5 or it's in there like it's an underrated gem. One of the store owners here in Arizona at the Gaming Zone, he's recommended that one to me. He said that's like one of his big games that when the second one came out, he bought like the big special edition of it.
Yeah, so, I bought the same thing. I bought like the big digitally, but I bought like the big thing. I like the first one way better than the second one. Like the second one improved on like gaming mechanics, like
Mm-hmm.
fighting, graphics, stuff like that. So that was good, but their storytelling dropped the ball. I feel like they focused on everything else and left out the heart of it, pun intended, of of the series. And I platinum that one, but the story, like as I was playing part two, I was like, yo, it can't keep up with part one as far as storytelling go.
So, have you given? I guess there's like an anime or a movie that they put out. It's on Netflix right now. Have you given that a shot yet, or no?
I have not tried that one out. I seen it and I have
Hmm.
it on something to watch, but I haven't tried it out yet.
Okay, so is the second game actually related to the first one, or is it like, you get certain games where, it's a sequel to it, but it's basically a sequel in name only and it's a completely standalone thing? Like if I were to pick up Ni no Kuni 2, would
You
would I be lost?
you wouldn't. They only connect part one, I think, some hours into the game. I forgot what you were doing, but you had to do this little maze, and it talks about these heroes from the past,
Right.
and that was the original people from part one.
Okay.
But other than that, it's like its own thing.
Okay.
So it's not like it focuses on like a whole different character and a whole different like world. Like the part one focused on this little kid named Oliver. He was like a
Mm-hmm.
resident of I think it was called Motorville.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was like trying to like design a new vehicle with his friend. I believe his name was Philip.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember. I remember he Oliver almost drowns, but he like is saved by his mother, I think. And then she like dies from some like heart problems. Still checked up. And I remember as Oliver was crying, like his tears. He had this little doll, and I think his tears basically brought this doll thing to life. His name was
Mm-hmm.
Drippy.
That's the thing with like the lantern attached to his nose or
Yeah,
something like that. Okay.
yeah, that was Drippy, and then Olive. I mean, Drippy basically telling me, he's from a different world, and it has like he talks about this evil wizard
Mm-hmm.
that's like taking control of people, and he's the one that's like jacking up people's hearts, like making
Right.
them evil, pretty much. And then he basically breaks down like every person has a soulmate, so they're
Right.
saying like you got an Oliver in the world he's in, and he got a soulmate to the someone that's in a different world. They're like
Right.
tied together, and you basically go on a story where you're basically trying to like defeat the evil dude. I think his name is Shadar, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
I think you're trying to like defeat him. You're trying to like pure everybody heart. But I don't know. It's like it's more deeper than that. Like the story is more deep, and then like the characters, like you actually like the characters. Like,
So, so here's like my other question with it, because this was the other thing that kind of turned me off when I saw the trailer, or
hmm
not the trailer, but I played the demo because it showed the part where, what'd you say his name was, Drippy?
yeah, Drippy.
Where Drippy comes to life, and the assumption I got is that I'm playing a game where this is just all of this kid's, imagination.
Uh huh.
Is that the case, or is this actually like a separate
No,
thing?
it's like Drippy is actually from like a whole different world,
Okay,
and
okay,
you like go back and forth between like that world and yours, basically. Because sometimes you have to find people like soulmate, pretty much like cure them.
okay. Yeah, see that's what that was my biggest worry with it is I don't like that type of storytelling. Like it's great and all that, but really to me it feels like it doesn't really amount to anything at the end of it. Like okay, you're the especially since you were playing as a child. It's
hmm
like, oh, he's now got the ability to persevere in life after this and he's moved on. I was like, that's great, but nothing I did actually happen.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
which
No,
I
it
know is
happens.
which I know is a weird complaint because it's a video game and none of it actually happens, but
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know.
it happens on here.
I'll
But
have
like
to
it
give
was
it a shot.
like with that, with the storytelling, like the art design, the character development,
Mhm.
and me actually feeling like, yo, like I connect with the characters. Like we went on this journey together. Like I loved it, and I would have never heard about it if it wasn't for Monkey King. So shout out Monkey King. And I feel like because of other games, like The Last of Us One, it
Hmm.
kind of like flew under the radar because The Last of Us was getting so much
Right.
praise that people didn't notice this one.
So here's my other question. If I wanted to play these, would you say I should play the first one or should I just skip
Yes.
right to the second?
No, play the first one.
Okay.
The second
All
was cool, but like the first one is something like I'll go back because I bought the first one again. I was like, I'll go back and play that. The second one, I'm like, I platinum it, and then I was like, yeah, I'm done.
All right, like that I'll have to pick that up eventually. I know they ported it to the Switch and they ported it the HD version of it, right, onto the PS4.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's relatively cheap. I think it was like $40 when I last saw it. So if it hits a sale on either of those systems, I'll probably finally give it a shot. But if I don't like it, I'm going to give you hell. And you know that, right?
Yep. I'll say you can just watch me stream it one day.
All right. So let me jump into my third one, which is it was originally a PS3 game. It got an HD remaster for the PS4. I think it was also on the 360. I can't remember though. It's called Resonance of Fate.
I think I know that one.
It,
Also, before you go on,
oh yeah.
Nino Kuni is like $14.99 on the
So you're gonna make
PS
me
store.
you're gonna make me look my word right now, aren't you? Like
I'm just I just look right now. It says $14.99, 70% off. Just throw that out there.
All right, well I got enough. I got a backlog, but you know what? I'll keep to my word. I'm pretty sure I've got the money for it right now. So does it have an end date for it?
Let me go back on there. I just logged off. Tell Sailor to get it.
I'll do that.
Let me see. I'm gonna go back to it. September 2nd.
September 2nd, so that's almost done with. Whatever. I got $15. I could afford to get that if I have to. So I'll give it a shot.
All right. Let's talk about what was it? Your third one?
Resonance of Fate. So it's like I say, it was originally on PS3, came out on PS4 as like an HD update for it. Never really took off. Like I got it when it first came out, and then like an idiot, I sold it after I finished it. I realized I wanted to play it again, and I was kind of happy because a used copy cost me about $10. But it's it's an RPG, but it's not like a typical one in like any sense. It's not. Its fantasy world is not a typical like J.R.R. Tolkien fantasy game. It's set in a pretty much modern day. You don't use swords, you don't use shields, you have guns. It's basically like what if John Woo made a Japanese RPG. So it's very like gun fu, everybody's diving. Like one of the core mechanics of this game is diving through the air. And you control 3 party members for it. And how it happens is when you get into a random battle for it or a boss battle, you essentially point in a direction, you select your character and you point in a direction on the map, and then they start running in that direction and they slowly build up a bar, and that's when you're able to fire. So the closer you get to the opponent or anything like that, it builds up quicker. And then you send your second person. What you want to try and do is cross through that line.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, then that's when you cause like a resonance, which makes your third person, you then control all 3 of them at one time as they basically run in that triangle formation and target the one person that you targeted, or you can switch your targets depending on it. And if what I'm saying makes like no sense, it's really hard to explain. Look up a video of it. It's really good. The story is actually kind of interesting. It doesn't take itself seriously, at least until you start getting near the end of it. It's not bogged down in like a lot of extra stuff for it. Like you get your 3 party members right there at the beginning of the game. And then instead of going through and saying like, oh, I'll go to a store just to buy the latest sword that's better than anything else, you actually have a grid and you put components on your gun. So if you want better damage output, then I forget what it is, but like if you want more ammo capacity, you put like a better magazine on it. If you want to build up your meter quicker, then you put a sight on it and you put a barrel on your gun for better range and whatnot. But what's funny is that being like a weird kind of John Woo-y action kind of game, it's not normal logic. Like you put a sight on a handgun, that's great. No, in this game you put like 5 of them on it. You put like 4 different magazines. You put like a barrel and then you put 2 extended barrels on it. It makes no sense. But that's where your core mechanics of it come from, and as the people use the stuff, then they become better with it, and it's just good. I will say it does become like really difficult until you actually get like a grasp on the mechanics, because all the rules that apply to you apply, or that apply to the enemies apply to you. So you die really quickly, your opponents die really quickly, and in this case, if any of your 3 party members die, it's an instant game over. But yeah, like I said, check it out. It's great. Nobody ever really talks about this. I was surprised it actually got an HD remaster, but I'm really glad I did. Technically, that would be the 3rd time I bought this game.
Oh wow.
So what's your next?
One of my favorites. It would be Legend of the Dragoons. That is my 3rd on my list of underrated games. I feel like Final Fantasy VII. Yes, I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII again. The original, not the remake. I feel like that had one of the best marketing and promotion for a game of that age.
Wasn't it like they were sword fighting and then the guy gets his head cut off and he's like, Nigel, he cut my head off.
Like everybody was talking about Final Fantasy, and I was like, back then I wasn't into RPGs, or JRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I remember seeing Final Fantasy VII the first time, and I'm like, bro, what's these people that look like blocks? Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is not for me.
Well, so you didn't like the little Hummel guys?
No.
Hey, they are cashing in on that. Have you seen the little Final Fantasy VII figures that they're releasing?
Yes. Well, now, but like back then, I was like, bro, like this is a no-go. This ain't it. So, long story short, I used to like go to Kmart, a store out here in good old Arizona for those people that don't have them. And I used to go there to like look for games, and I begged my uncle one day, all day, to take me to the store so I can buy a game. So he finally took me up there, and it was nothing there. It was no games there. Like everything was like horrible. So I kept looking at Legend of Dragoons, and I'm like, it sounds cool, but they're not showing me nothing. Like, you turn the back of the case, and it's like, bro, what is this? So, not to leave empty-handed, I ended up buying the game. I instantly regretted it when I bought it. I was like, this is going to be something I don't even play. I went home, I put it in, and I'm like, okay, the movie scene, how it starts off, looked at fire. So I'm like, wait a minute. And then they like give you, like, it starts off and you were Dart, the main character. And he's like, I think he's running through, like, I don't know if he's running, but I remember seeing when he's going this area and he's fighting this old prayer mantis looking dragon. And at first I was like talking so much stuff. I'm like, am I going to play the game or is it going to play it for me? So I was like, yeah, I'm not liking this. I'm mad. And then eventually they let me get control and they take you to his hometown where these soldiers came through and just burnt it all and took this girl named Shayna, was his boo, even though he was being a typical character. Like,
I get why he didn't like her. I get why she didn't like her. She was kind of useless for a good chunk of that game.
Yeah, I mean she was, but still, that was his boo. All right.
Then they replaced her with a much better.
Miranda, like, but yeah, and then you go all the way to the main city, and they actually let you fight this one guy, and it teaches you how to play. And that's when I like started falling in love because like I'm like it's not just me clicking the action, like go X, press attack, do Knights of the Round. I'm like, all right, I gotta do double slash, then you run, and then you actually see the little icon on the screen. This little box until it like draws down until it goes white, and you gotta press the button at the right time so you actually doing the attacks. I was like, yo, this is interesting. And I was messing up horribly at first until I like, and then each character has a different rhythm and pacing to their attacks.
I mean, I finished that game. I don't think I ever really got good at that.
I got amazing at it, except for Lavitz and Albert, the knight and the king.
Right.
Those two, I hated their combos.
Now, I'm not gonna. I don't want this little bit spoiled for it, but what happens to Lavitz? Did you feel bad about that?
Bro, I did. That was my guy. That was my guy. I was pissed. I was pissed, yo. Especially like when I played it again. I played it like probably a few years ago when they put it on the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was on the 3. But I had bought it for me and my brother because my brother never played it. So,
You know, I said like don't spoil it. You know, the game's 20 years old at this point. If you don't know about it, then I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say this, like anyone that was like, "Oh my God, I was devastated when Aerith died." No, no,
oh,
I felt far more for Lavitz.
Lavish, yes, when Lavish died. Because it was like this guy. All right, we're just going to talk about it. So, this you get like the gameplay is 4 discs.
Yes.
Well, it's 4 discs. That's the first game I ever seen, me personally, that had 4 discs. And it wasn't like short. That
Right.
first disc was long as hell. I was like, bro, I'm still in the first disc, and it takes you forever to get to the point where you find out what dragoons are, which they're dragon knights. And you go for a long time before you even get this power. So Lavitz had just got his. You beat the prayer mantis dragon, you just get yours, and it was probably like not too much longer. You end up fighting, was it Lloyd?
I think so. Was that the white-haired guy?
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
go to try to attack, and then this guy pulls out some dang dragon slaying weapon that can pierce through dragoon armor. Took my boy out, and that I was devastated. I was like, bro, no, I was laughing. Like this was my guy. It was my right hand man, and they took him out. Like that was the first game death that like meant something to me. Like I know, like you said, everybody talks about Aerith, and Aerith sucked. Hey, but
hey, don't say that. Robert Patterson will come up and like kick your ass like he did in that trailer. Apparently, according to the internet, he cried. He cried some manly tears after that.
Oh, he should have played Dragoon. I feel like Dragoon, and a lot of people might not agree because they probably never played it. But if you compare the two, I'm like Dragoon was light years better. Storytelling, the gameplay, the graphics, like everything was light years better than me.
I can't remember the character, but he was a giant. He starts out like you have to fight him a few
Congo?
times. Yes.
Yep.
So the first fight against him, I remember this one like to this day because he just kicked my ass. I think you had to fight like a couple of people before him, and like I know you said you hadn't really played many JRPGs before that, but I'm sure you've played like some more since then.
Yeah, that got me into JRPGs. That was the Pandora's box. But go ahead.
But you know how occasionally you'll come across like the boss fight, like you're supposed to lose to the boss fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like he was just handing me my party's ass. Like I kept having to heal and everything. I was like, obviously I'm supposed to lose to this guy. Whatever. So I just kind of gave up and I just let him like just wail on my party, and then they lost. And then I got the game over screen. I just remember being so angry. I think I put that game down for like a month. I did eventually finish it. But I just remember being like so mad at that.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was the second fight. It was the fight where you fought him and when Dart actually got his.
Yes, in like the burning village.
Yeah, but I think you had to. You did have to beat him.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, he just hit you, and then you end up, the scene comes where the dragoon spirit actually awakens, and
as you said, that is not an early point in the game either.
It is not. I was content like just learning different moves and getting them stronger and whatnot. I was like, when they start bringing in the dragoons, I'm like, yo, y'all had more?
Well, it's like, because, like I said, you get him as a party member later on. I'm not going to lie. Like, I hated him. He was a good party member. Don't get me wrong. I had him in my party. Yeah. But the entire time I'm there, like, anytime he would say something, I'd be like, shut up. Like, I'm still mad. Like,
yeah, the original run, original 2 times. So I played it 2 times when I had it on the PlayStation. I had my party was Dart, Rose, and Congo, because Congo used to just hit massively hard. And then like the 3rd time I played it, or 4th, one of those, whenever I played it last, like I switched the whole thing up. Like I had Dart, Maru, and as Albert. The karate guy.
The who?
No, not Albert. Dang. Albert was
he's who replaced Lavitz, I think.
Yeah. He was the karate guy.
Oh, the one that wears purple?
Yeah.
That they didn't balance the game for him.
They didn't?
So you know how in this game, like it has the weakness system. So it's like water hits fire really hard, but vice
Oh
versa, I
yeah.
think.
Hmm.
So lightning didn't have an opposite. And which meant that at no point did he ever get hit harder than anything else, but he also never hit anything harder than it. So the game was actually never balanced with him in mind.
Yo,
Um,
like if you were to play that again and actually like build those people up, like Haskell and Maru was like low key broken to me because the speed of when they attack was ridiculous. Like I think I attacked like twice each
mhm.
time from those characters before Dart attacks once. So I'll hit him once and then go to Maru, hit him once, and they'll go back to Haskell, hit him again and go back. And they were hitting hard at the end,
I
like
think
very hard.
it's been forever since I played it, but I think my team was Dart. What's the giant's name?
Congo, yeah.
Kongal, and then I think I would either switch in Albert or the old man, purple guy.
Hmm.
Occasionally, I would bring in Rose, but once everyone else basically gets their dragon ability, she kind of becomes less useful.
She was my magic user on my original playthrough.
Okay.
Like so, when you cast magic on here, it has like I think it's an X button or a circle
Yeah,
button
you
that you
mash
gotta
that button to
repeat.
deal more
Yeah,
damage.
yeah. And I used to like tilt my controller on the and hold on, let me get off the screen so it doesn't like pre-order anything right now. Hold on.
So,
So I'll like tilt my controller. You can probably hear it. And I'll be like this.
so you were putting those Metal Gear training into effect. Tap that X button in order to keep Snake alive.
Yep.
That nobody ever managed to do.
Like
Um,
literally, I figured it out because I used to like just take one finger and like
mhm.
vibrate it like, but then I was like, you know what, that's not working. So I literally like tilt the controller. I'll take like the top part of your nail, and
Mhm.
I'll like just basically like just run it back and forth on whatever button it was.
See, I only knew one person who could get through that segment in Metal Gear, and what was funny is he couldn't do it with his fingers. You know how he would do it?
Oh
He would use his toe. I don't get how he would do it.
yeah, I
I
don't
don't
get
know how he had that much control for it. All I knew is that one, that was kind of cool, and two, I am never using that controller.
ever.
But yeah, like, but no, I agree with everything you said. Dragoon is like a great game. I really feel like I wish Sony would kind of,
Make another one.
at this point, I don't necessarily think make another one. I think that would be one that would be good with a remake.
Yeah,
But
that's what I want.
I don't want the Final Fantasy VII. I don't want it becoming an action RPG.
Either.
I would personally like it if they just came up with a decent art style for it. Keep it as a turn-based RPG, but maybe give it an art style similar to, I can't remember the people who do it. Is it Arc Vision that does like the Blaze Blue games and Guilty Gear?
Oh,
Uh,
okay, okay.
or give it Final Fantasy VII's style graphics for it, but just still
Yeah,
keep it a
but keep
turn-based
it.
game.
Yes, all I want
Uh,
is like upgraded graphics, character design. I love the music in the games. I'm like, oh, keep it.
and
Don't change it.
in exactly what you went through with it, I think it's like a really good jumping off point for people who either don't like JRPGs or they're unsure if they would like them, because it's not just a pure menu simulator. You do have that, everybody kept talking about when Resident Evil 4 came out that you had these quick time events. I was like, no, people who played Legend of Dragoon, people who played Paper Mario, people who
Hmm.
played a lot of RPGs, we had quick time events long before then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is one of the games that I've since PlayStation 1, people been signing like petitions and everything, like at least remake the game or do a prequel or do something with it.
Well, I know, remember that it was a game called like PlayStation All Stars. It was like Sony's
Yeah.
attempt to knock off. At one point, Dart was supposed to be a DLC character for that. And, the game itself failed. But just, I sat there, I was like, so we had like two versions of Cole from Infamous. We had crappy Dante. We had like all of these different things for it. It's like, we didn't have enough, in my opinion, like PlayStation 1 representation. I think Dart would have been a great choice for it. That is a game like I just re-release it again, Sony. I'll give you more money if you re-released it for it. If they did something, now that we're getting into like this stage of like them re-releasing older games physically,
Hmm.
if they put out like a collector's edition of Legend of Dragoon, I would love that.
Yeah, 'cause when they put it
Uh,
on the PlayStation 3,
mm-hmm.
That's when I played it again, and my brother played it again, and we had just played Final Fantasy VII
Mm-hmm.
again because he never like played it straight through,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, all right, let's go ahead and play it. And he said it. He was like, yo, I see why you've been saying like all these years, like
Mm-hmm.
this is the game. And I'm like, I don't get it, 'cause especially how they ended it off too. Because
Mm-hmm.
you had the when it go up the little tree and you got the nest and you still see the dragon spirits. I think it was Rose and Darts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, bro, you have you have what you need to do another one, or at least
And
just give me a remake. Just remaster, not remaster, remake it up to date and keep the same music, keep the turn based, like you said, change the art style a little bit, and there you go. Try it
yeah.
out. They're
Well,
doing
that's one I
remakes for
kind of want to
everything
look
else.
into because do you know if was that a Sony made game or was that another company that made it?
Let me check. Rainier.
Because usually when something like that happens, like I wonder if it's cut in some like weird limbo, like nobody's quite sure who owns the rights to it, so that's why nobody can remake it. But I think that was just a straight up Sony game.
No, Sony.
Yeah.
It's developed by Sony Studio.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like
So
unless they just think it won't sell.
I'm
Um
like, you got all these games now. That's why I said release it. You can release the original one if you want to get people to like check it out, throw it on the network, and then go ahead and drop it. Like if they was to do something like that for me, because they got a cult following. Like if they was
yeah.
to do something like that on PS5, I'm like, yeah, I will fall out. Legends of the Dragoons, just fall right out. Like, because this guy, I'm sweating. Like if y'all have not played it and y'all want to take a jump back in time, or if you just want to, if you're curious enough, you like nothing can be greater than Final Fantasy VII, then go ahead and try it out. I guarantee at the end of it, you're gonna be like, "Yo, let me message these people individually to let them know that they are so right."
I mean, like here's the thing, if you're like it can't be better than Final Fantasy VII, you know what? Legend of Dragoon has a blonde-haired, pointy-haired guy with a big
Yeah,
sword.
yeah,
Your villain is a white-haired pretty boy.
uh huh.
And it's like it's just the fantasy version of Final Fantasy. Just think of it like that. None of the dragons make sense at being dragons because, like you said, one of them was basically just a
Yeah,
giant praying
praying mantis.
mantis.
Yeah,
You got like fairies. You got a dead teammate. It's basically. I feel like they probably were heavily influenced by Seven. Like I really think that they probably were
which one came
trying to
out
one
first?
up. Seven did.
Let me see. It
Um,
began in 1996.
like I don't think that they probably set out completely to like rip off Final Fantasy VII, but I think it had to have some influences on it because I think it came out like a year or two after Seven.
Yeah, I think it did. Okay, it came out I think 2 years after seven. I think seven were released in 1997.
Yeah, and Dragoon, I
Yeah,
just pulled it
Dragoon I
up,
think was
is
1999.
yeah, December 2nd, 1999. So 2 years
Yeah.
later. But you know what? 2 years makes a difference.
When did they start it? When did Final Fantasy VII actually start development?
That I don't know because I know originally it was
Okay.
it
They
was
started in
supposed to be
'94,
yeah,
and Dragoon started in '96.
yeah. So I think there was some influence on it,
Yeah, it
but I
probably
don't
was.
think I wouldn't call it a ripoff.
No, no, they actually had some crazy story telling, and
So
I
it's
think what's it called was better. Aerith was a better chick than Shayna. She was. Shayna was pretty useless, like you said.
well, it's just
For
because she was in like a coma for a good chunk of it, and when you got her, she was like 10 levels below everyone else.
yeah, but she still hit like wet paper.
Well, that's because she was supposed to be your healer.
Yeah, but still.
But when your healer is predominantly healing themselves, I'd say that there was a problem.
I was like, "Jeez, get her out of here!" Like, let's let her be the boo, right? And Miranda, I mean, she was useless because I didn't use her. I was like, "I don't want you." I had Rose.
What's funny is I pulled up like a screenshot of it, and it's showing like the enemies fighting something, and it's like total HP. It's like Darge is sitting at like 150, Lavitz is sitting at 166, Shayna's sitting at 120, and is almost dead in this screenshot. Like every screenshot I'm looking at now, it's basically Shayna is almost dead.
Yep, that sounds about right. Oh yeah, Maru, wasn't she like a fairy as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fairies hated humans.
All right, I'm gonna move on to my next one.
Do your next two.
My next two. You still didn't come up with your number one?
I don't know if I'm gonna like do like I don't know if Dragoons will probably be my number one, but
All right. So my next one is it's a pretty recent game actually. It's called Deathmark. I think it's on everything now. I know it's on PC. I've got the Switch version of it. It's on PS4 and Xbox One. And let me put it like this. I do not like visual novels. I don't consider them to be games. I don't like you remember back in the 90s when we were like kids and you had like the choose your own adventure books?
yeah.
I was not a fan of those. This is a visual novel I actually really enjoy. And it's mostly because it's more of a horror game. It's got some adventure elements into it, so it's more than just talking to people. Art in it is amazing. The monster design in it is absolutely terrifying. The story is good. There's really not a lot I can say about it without giving a ton away. But like when I say I don't like visual novels, I don't like them. I own the collector's edition of this game because I wanted the art book. I started following the person who did the art for it on their what's that site called? It's like Pix something. I don't know. It's like the Japanese version of DeviantArt just because I wanted to see the stuff she kept putting out or he. I don't know what it is. But I know this is like part one of a trilogy. The next one is called NG. I need to get and play that. But it's basically like the story for it is that you're playing as like a guy and he randomly gets like a mark on his body and it looks kind of like teeth. You meet this doll and what it is that you're cursed and that you're going to die and you actually have to find spirits in these different locations and, you know, appease them and set their soul to rest or else, you know, they'll basically haunt and kill you. And you have like the first one is probably like the most normal and it's just like this little kid's ghost that basically had like a really shitty life and then died. But then it's like you go into like a Japanese bunker and you find like that the government was trying to make like a weird experiment so it like attaches like mannequin parts to like a human body. It's got like 6 arms like a spider. You got like a this really creepy long neck monster thing in a wedding dress. It's such a creepy game. Like if you can get it now, is it worth $40? No. If you can get this on sale for like 10, 15, $20 and you want to try something like especially if you've not done visual novels and you want something completely different, check this one out. I cannot recommend it enough. Oh, it also came out on the Vita, but again, nobody played it because nobody plays the Vita.
You're right about that.
And I'm really glad. This is one of those ones where you know how we were upset that Legend of Dragoon never got a sequel. I was so happy when I found out that this actually had a sequel.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, if
I've,
you just look up some of the art for it, you'll
I've
see.
never played that before. That's crazy.
And my fifth one, or my final one, my number one is actually a game that I know for a fact you've played.
Hmm.
Remothered Fathers.
Yes, I played it.
Are you gonna finish it or no?
Yeah, I'm gonna finish it.
Okay. What this game basically is, I think it takes place in what, like the 70s or the 80s, I think?
Oh wow, that costs $50. I'm not getting that. I'm gonna
What?
go ahead.
Deathmark?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not worth the $50. I'll tell you that right now. Wait for a sale. If you have a Switch, it goes on the Switch sale a decent amount. I'm sure it'll go on Sony's sale a lot too.
Right.
Or if you got a PC, it's definitely going to go on sale on Steam because everything goes on sale on Steam.
Okay, you said remother. Which one?
The first one, Tormented Father.
Fathers. Yeah.
Now you know me. I love my horror games, and I'm also a big fan of the Clock Tower games. This to me is like the true spiritual successor to Clock Tower. I don't know if you've ever played those, but it's got some of my favorite character designs in it. I know you made it as far as the first like villain, crazy old man with a sickle and butt cheeks hanging out. Uh, and I don't know why you did it, but you just decided I'm just gonna let this guy attack me.
I was trying to see like, was he really about that life? I was like, you know what? I want to see what happened, and I was trying to knock out the anxiety.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let me get killed real quick, and then I'll be able to be like, all right, now I can like focus.
And I'm going to tell you this. I don't know how much you look into your games before you play them and whatnot. I guarantee you will not predict the ending to this game.
I haven't looked at anything in this, so
you will not predict that ending for it. You've got different enemies with different like rules for it. The big bad one that I would say for it is probably when I say like it is a great design and I think it could become an iconic design, I would say it's up there with like Pyramid Head.
Oh wow, really?
Uh, yeah, I really like. I'm just gonna tell you. I think it's just called The Nun or something, but it's great. I gush over this game, which is funny because my first impression of this game was that it was garbage because it glitched on me, and the old man didn't spawn on my first playthrough. So like I played it through for a while, I saved, and then it was like the next time I picked it up, I could not escape that old man. It was like he came back with vengeance. And whenever I loaded in, he would just be right there at the end of the hallway, and I would just die every time. So the game is not perfect, but it builds that anxiety for it. You have the different surfaces on the ground, so walking on carpet, you actually sneak better than trying to walk on the hardwood floors. You're trying to solve these like puzzles for it, and they're like puzzles you will encounter very early on in that game that do not get a solution until much later on.
Hmm.
Uh, that house is much bigger than what you're actually expecting it to be.
I can see that already.
And I could be wrong, but I think some of the people who were formerly a part of Human Entertainment, which is who made the Clock Tower games, did work on this one. I do know they worked on a game called, I think it was called Night Cry. It was absolutely garbage. Don't play it. But I do know that the guy who did the artwork for Night Cry did do the character designs for Remothered, and that is like the best part of it. I think it has the same. I think the person who did the music for it might have done the music for Silent Hill. I could be wrong. I know it's some important person, but this was one that when I found out that they were doing a sequel for it, I was hyped. And I think you're the reason why I even found out there was one, just because I happened to catch one of your streams, and you were like, "This is like a sequel to something." I was like, "Of
Oh
course it is."
yeah, yeah. I did the reaction to it.
I was like, "Of course it's a sequel. How do you not know that this is a thing?" And then I realized that, yeah, much like most of the things I like, especially in like the horror game scene, it's like me and 10 other people who probably actually play these things.
Yeah, I didn't
I
hear
do know it
anything
didn't
about
get reviewed well because people were basically complaining it was too hard and the enemies were kind of unfair. I like that in my games. I like that your character isn't just completely useless. You can defend yourself.
it. Yeah, the little weapon.
But no, it's good. I want to talk about it more, but I don't want to spoil it for you either.
Yeah,
Uh,
let me get back on. You kind of like making me want to play now, to be honest. But I can't be yelling all crazy right now. People are there trying to do some work in there.
no, like I'll leave it up to you. Maybe you'll do some more hype for it whenever you do your streams.
Yeah, I was doing it like I want to do it like every so often and then
Mm-hmm.
put the videos up like one-offs
Mm-hmm.
because the YouTube algorithm is like
Mm-hmm.
disrespectful at times. So I think like half my subs, not even half, at least 75% of my subs don't even know that I post stuff.
Yeah, like even any of the people that I follow, for the most part, I never know when they post. Like I follow you on there, I never know when you post. It's usually whenever I catch like you posting it on Facebook or you posting it somewhere
Mm.
else. That's how I find out.
And I'm
Uh,
like, because they changed the algorithm, and a lot of people that had their notifications on for some reason it switched off. So getting views now, luckily, like that's not my thing. Like I don't like, I do it because I love it, and I'm
mm-hmm.
not like doing it for a certain amount of views. Yes, getting more views would be amazing, but
Mm-hmm.
if I just focused on the views, I would have quit a long time ago.
Okay. I do got a question for you since we kind of got on that topic and I'm done talking about mine, like my
Hmm.
top five. I don't know. You say you didn't have another one?
I had I had a Metro Exodus. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the third game in the series, and Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Okay. Like I never actually played Hellblade. Uh,
Hellblade, I'm actually gonna. I had like literally like deleted my stuff
mm-hmm.
so I can like play it again and like So I got like close to the end. I didn't finish it, and I took a long time off playing games. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I might as well like learn the controllers and the buttons again, and actually like I was gonna stream it and of course put it on the channel if it did good. So, but yeah, from when I did play, it was amazing. It was something different too, and this was like during the time where a lot of people were mad that they didn't have a lot of female representation when it
Mm-hmm.
came to characters in games. And this one like focused on a lot of like mental issues, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially with headphones on, like the chick literally hears like voices
Mm-hmm.
during the game, and at first that tripped me out. Like I'm listening to it, and you got like people saying some crazy stuff on there, like, "What are you doing? Hey, this is me. Come over here. Don't go that way." And I'm like, "Yo," I'm like, "You don't get out my ear." But it was like a dope dynamic, and then I liked the character, and then I liked the game from, and like the creators too. I
Mm-hmm.
think they like
It's Ninja Theory, I think, right?
yes, Ninja Theory. I was like, yo, like this is a dope game that y'all like worked on for like I forgot how long, and just tossed it out there. And I think from a lot of people I talked to, some people didn't even know like what that was. Like I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't even heard of this game. And I think it's like one of those like if you played it, you like it, and it's not like really badly received
Mm-hmm.
for those who played it. It's either you played it or you didn't play it, but you heard good things about it.
I've heard good things for it. I've never played it. Now, I'm not going to say like I'm a little biased in the sense in that if it's about Norwegian or Norse stuff in general, I could not give a shit. Um, it's kind of why it took me so long to play like the last God of War game. Because I don't care about like Norse gods or Norse stuff for it. I just
You don't disrespect Thor,
and yeah, I'm just gonna choose not to say anything.
all right?
Um, it's
Come
just
Thor.
I can't
You
I
know,
just can't do it. Like if you want me to say something about Thor, I can say something. Like it's like any other Norse god, he's a dick. Uh,
especially the God of War's Thor.
yeah.
It's funny that off subject, well, on subject, but
Yes.
it's funny because a long time ago when God of War 3 ended,
Mm-hmm.
and, you got that end scene where you see that Kratos actually crawled off the mountain, so he wasn't dead. I said a long time ago, if they ever wanted to continue the game, I said I would. How I would have wrote it is since now Olympus has fallen pretty much. I would have said that would have put the other gods like Egyptian gods, Norse
Mm-hmm.
gods, like any other gods on alert. And I
Mm-hmm.
said since Olympus was like pretty much the place where they want to be, the good vantage point, I said I was gonna have them start trying to like take over that, which introduces different sets of gods that Kratos can pretty much bend over.
I mean, I did. That is something I did like with the new one is that it did acknowledge that there are. It's not just the Greek gods because usually when you
Yeah.
play like a series like that, it's like nope, ours are the ones that exist and that's about it. So I thought it was cool that he exists in this world, and I forget how old he's supposed to be by the new God of War, but I like that he gets married, he has like another kid, he
Yeah.
knows nothing about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like if he didn't have the kid with him, then he'd be like, I can't read anything. I don't
Yeah.
understand what any of these gods are for. I don't get what's going on here. Why did this old homeless guy just beat the hell out of me during my wife's
Bruh.
funeral? Like,
I think that was one of the coldest like introductions though. I'm like, yo, who the hell is this? This is the first fight I'm getting? like this was amazing.
I'm not gonna lie, I have very mixed feelings about the new God of War game because I was just such a big fan of like all the other ones.
In Ascension?
Ascension was the prequel, right?
Yeah.
I didn't mind Ascension. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't hate it.
I did not like Ascension. I mean, graphically for that time and everything, yeah, but like I did not like it at all.
Here's the thing, I also didn't play Ascension until much, much later. Like I think I played it a few years ago. And I also didn't play it under the best situation. I actually played it under PlayStation Now, their like streaming service. I had issues with it. I thought like getting another prequel was kind of dumb because we got a prequel already with the PSP
PSP
games.
version, yeah.
Yes.
Which because I beat 1, 2, 3, and
Mm-hmm.
then later when I bought the little pack and it came with the PSP version that you can play on PlayStation, I
Mm-hmm.
played those, and then it made more sense because like in part 3 when you fight Hades, he mentions that Kratos killed his wife, and I was like, when I originally played, I was like, what are you talking about? I never met your wife.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't kill anybody, but then you play the PSP version, you do kill his wife. I
I
was
will
like,
say
oh
this, like,
wow.
the ending, I think it was the first PSP game where you end up in like the underworld again. He's actually got his family there. I can't remember if it was a trick or not, but he has to like physically like push his daughters away.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
think
oh man, like,
that was
huh?
the was that the first one?
I think that's the first PSP
I
game.
think that was the first one.
I think it
Yeah,
was,
you
was it
had to
Chains of
choose.
Olympus?
You had to choose either stay with your daughter
Mm-hmm.
or you know
Which,
yeeter.
which it's a prequel, so we know that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, and
Um,
then because I think the second one was like one of my second favorites when you actually meet his brother Deimos.
wait, you meet his brother?
Yes.
Because I was about to comment on that, like in the like when you beat the first game, you got like the pitch trailer for what they wanted to do for the second one,
Mm-hmm.
and it was talking about like his brother that didn't live up, and I guess they killed him, and he went to Hades, and he came back for revenge. I do not remember them ever doing anything with his brother. Was that the
Yeah, like
second PSP
that
game?
was the second one, which that one was like for me like before God of War, the new one came out.
Hmm.
Part two was my favorite one, and then the one with his brother was my second favorite because the story was bananas. Like so, basically, you find out that your brother's alive this whole time, and it shows like flashbacks. Like his
Hmm.
brother is the one that actually had a scar on his face.
Right.
So he had the scar on his face, and Kratos just mimicked the scar. I think Ares came, and I believe he took his brother. You know, they had the little not premonition, but they were basically foretold that of a fighter that had a
Right.
scar, and so he went and took his brother. So Kratos started mimicking his brother, and that's why he
Okay.
put the little scar on. And when he went into battle and everything, and then you know what happened when he eventually got killed
Hmm.
and asked for Ares, and then ended up getting trained by him. Blah blah blah. Came to God of War, and then I think this happens in between two. I think it happens in between two because I think he's a God of War at the time. And he ends up having to go to this underworld, and you find out about this one. He was basically death, and they were saying like this is a person that even the gods don't even like go over there and mess with him.
Hmm.
like they not playing with him. And you meet your brother. Of course, he's pissed off and all that stuff. Y'all end up fighting. He beats you up because you let him beat him up.
Right.
I'm not gonna fight my brother. And then y'all eventually end up fighting death. He kills your brother, like officially, and then you end up killing him. And then that's why uh, Kratos he was called. I mean, he got another nickname and become called the Death because he killed Death, so he pretty much took that title. And then I think after that, that's when I think it was before two. I think that's when it ended up when he was sitting at on two and he was pissed off.
Yeah.
And that's how they started off. That's like everything why. Because he was like, bro, y'all lied to me. Now y'all found out my brother was alive and I could have like went and got him. Now he dead now. And like I'm just finding out all these lies. So now he pissed off at all the guys and he's like, yo, this ain't happening.
I'll be honest, man. I know I played it. I do not remember that one at all. I'll have to sit down and replay it again. I'll have to
Yeah,
get my hand. Like, I know I actually had it digitally on the PSP. I just need to get my hands on another one. Don't lend your consoles out to people because you never get them back. I need to get myself another PSP.
that was a good one. Yeah, get that one. I'm trying to look right now. So you got God of War Ascension was
Mm-hmm.
first, and then God of War Chains of Olympus, and
Mm-hmm.
then God of War Part One. Okay, Ghost of Sparta, that's what it was. And
Okay.
God of War Ghost of Sparta, and then God of War 2, God of War 3, and then of course the last one.
I'll have to sit down and play that one because, like I said, I don't remember. I got a PS3, so I can probably get my hand on
So
the
yeah, I'm gonna put that
re-release.
in there. I don't even know why I didn't even think of that. That's underrated. Like God of War, Ghost of Sparta, like Chain of Olympus was good, but Ghost of Sparta was like part two. I'm a big dude when it comes to storytelling. Like you can have the greatest action and everything, and I'm depending on what the game is made for, I'm gonna knock it some points because like
Right.
because of the story. Like y'all didn't even try. And like unless it's that type of game. Like if I know it's just like an action phase, this is not a story phase game, then cool, I got it. But
Right.
like games like I was saying Nino Kuni 2, like it's like story is a big element. Like it was kind of rinse and repeat on this. But I love the God of War 2 though, because Like it made sense. I like that they took all the like Greek mythology and basically blended Kratos within it.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, up until playing God of War 3, I just thought Kratos was meant to be a stand-in for Hercules. Just because like you
Yeah.
kind of had the whole thing where it's like, oh, he has super strength, so obviously like I was always under the impression he was kind of at least demigod. And it's like, he killed his family and then the god sent him on the trials. I was like, this guy's just a stand-in for Hercules. I don't know why they just didn't name him Hercules. And then in the third game, you fight Hercules and he's voiced by Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah.
So
The
like
hell out of Hercules.
no, like I really like the second God of War with the exception of that ending.
You didn't like the ending in part 2?
I didn't. Here's the thing: if you played part two and went directly into part three, I think it's a great like ongoing story.
Mm-hmm.
But just the way part two ended, and then we had to not only wait for part three, but it was on a completely different console.
Oh,
That
okay.
was my issue. I will always take like a self-contained story over a multi-part one any day.
Okay, I
And
get you. Yeah, because
uh,
me, I got into God of War late.
oh, okay,
So, like, when I beat part 2, I think part 3 was going to be released in like a month or so, or
okay.
it was like just coming out. Or, yeah, I think it was just coming out. So it was like, it was right for me because I was like, bro, I did not see that coming. I don't know why, but I asked all the right questions because I was like, dude, how is this dude? How he get out of? How he climb from death or out of Hades? Like, how is he fighting these gods? Are these creatures and whatnot? I was like, I get it, he a Spartan, but I'm like, bro, you let some Vikings come over there and kill you, pretty much. So then I was like, okay, maybe I'm tripping. I'm like, he did get trained by Ares, the god of war, so
hmm
that'll put him up with fighting. But I'm like, still, he's going against some of these crazy mythical people, and I'm like, how? And then it made sense, like
Well,
after
like
two.
I had like the opposite issue. Like I played the first one like a year after I think it came out. Really liked it. Pre-ordered the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Got that on day one. Played through it in a couple of days. Finished it, and then I think God of War 3 was out for like a year or two before I finally played it.
Okay.
So I remembered two pretty well for it, but like I said, I was kind of like the exact opposite. Like I experienced that long wait and that long gap, and then when three finally came out, I was kind of like, eh.
Okay, I got you.
Don't get me wrong though, really liked three when I finally played it.
Like 3 is a prime example of a game that I didn't hit it heavily for story
Right.
because it was like wrapping everything up to
hmm
me. So I was like, this was the action part. This was like putting the bow tie on it, and I got to beat the hell out of Poseidon in the beginning. I was good. I was good. I was like, yo, they taking violence to a new level. I love it.
I will say this for the new game, it was a good while before, and it was a little bit since I played the last one before it. I didn't even realize they had changed voice actors for Kratos.
Yeah, I knew it because I was like, when he first talked, after I got over my hype when when
hmm
they did their little thing at the E3 and he was
hmm
like, boy. And after like I calmed down finally because I was like tripping out. I was like, just just going crazy in this house. I noticed it because I was like, yo, because the dude that do his voice was the black guy that he played on Living Single. I don't know if you ever seen
In
that
the
sitcom.
in the old
Yeah,
voice actor,
yeah.
I watched in Living Single. I do not remember him at all.
What
Was
was
he
his
like a
name?
main? Was he a main person in on it?
Living Single. He was the damn. What the heck? Why can't I think of his name? Hold on, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. He was Kyle Barker. He was a black guy that he was pretty like the smooth dude, and him and Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, dated on the show as characters, not like in real life.
Right.
But yeah, he did the voice for Kratos on all the other games. I think his
Yeah.
name is Terrence C. Carlson. Okay, yeah, just pulled it up. Terrence C. Carlson. Yeah,
See,
he voiced Kratos on all those except for the new one.
I'm gonna send this over. Is he the guy in the bottom left on this?
Let me pull up my screen real quick. Once it stopped disrespecting me. No, that's when they did the remake.
Okay.
So he wasn't in this season. He ended up leaving. Go to like a season before.
Let's see. Wow, this show ran longer than I thought it did.
Yeah, he ended up getting I mean, oh, just way off subject, but he ended up getting fired from Living Single because he was like the voice of reason, not the voice of reason, but like if any type of issue was to happen on the show, or the group as a collective was like, we need better pay or we need better, like he was the guy that voiced it, like he was the speaker. They didn't like it eventually, so.
Okay, I remember him now. I had to look him up on here.
Yeah, that was Kratos.
Like I knew his face from it. I did not realize he was ever in the show because I know the new voice actor is the guy that played Teal'c in Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never connected this guy as being from Living Single. Like I didn't watch the show a ton. I was more of a what was that show called? Not Parenthood. Can't remember the actor's name. Did you ever watch that movie Meteor Man?
Yeah.
The lead that was in that, it was the TV show he was in, Robert Townsend, Living Single, that and the Steve Harvey Show. But I don't know how the hell we ended up on this subject, but
because of God of War.
Yeah.
He secondly changed voices, and I knew it because I was like, when I had found out that was him, because I didn't know that for a long time, and I was like, yo, I never put that together. So when I heard this guy, I'm like, yo, that's a different voice. So I checked it, and I remember he had posted on Twitter saying that if you're wondering if I'm doing like God of War 4, then he was like, no, Sony went in a different direction. So he was like let them know what you think about it. Which I still don't even know why. I don't know why they actually chose a different voice actor. That was like when Metal Gear didn't go with, I think it's David Hatfield, when they didn't go with him. Yeah, Hater. I said Hatfield. And they went with Kiefer Sutherland.
I mean, I've looked into that a lot. Like as much as I like Metal Gear and as much as I like Kojima, I have very mixed opinions of him. And everything I kept hearing for it is that, Kojima likes his actors. He likes his, Hollywood stuff. And from what I've seen, a lot of stuff with, David Hayter said is that he basically said ever since Metal Gear Solid, he has had to re-audition to play Snake in Metal Gear 2, 3, any version of Snake that's shown up. He's had to, he's had to re-audition for him. And that apparently, I guess he finally got someone that he wanted, which was Kiefer Sutherland, because I could be wrong on this. I think Hayter even said he wasn't even contacted for 5.
Yeah, I think I read that he wasn't either.
And that's one of those things where I have a very mixed opinion when it comes to Kojima. I have a very mixed opinion when it comes to Metal Gear 5, especially like with PT and him getting into his stuff with Sony, but we can talk about that some other day.
Yeah.
I felt like they really did Hayter dirty for 5.
Even though when I played the story, it made sense.
Yeah, when you get to the very end, it does.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I know the twist at the end of it, but I
would have loved if Hideo or whoever made the decision, Kojima, whoever, I would have loved for them to be like, hey, this is a reason why we're not going with you because of the direction or the story, and you'll see at the end. But if we do another one and it talks, because I mean, what's the call should be dead by now. Solid. After part 4, he was an old man.
Well, the thing that bothered me about it is because 5 is Big Boss. It's a continuation of part 3, and I could get their reasoning for it, except for we had Ground Zeroes, and you still had Kiefer Sutherland voicing Big Boss in Ground Zeroes. Like, I personally think that answer at the very end was just kind of a cop-out. They just kind of did it. And I think it's because they ran out of money and they ran out of budget. Again, this is playing heavily into my issues with Kojima. And we could probably make an entire episode about this. Let's just say he was not very good with how he handled his money. And I do think, like, as much as I disagree with Konami taking his name off of 5, I think looking into it, when you look into it more, I kind of agree with Konami's decision to fire him. I think he got a little bit too big for what, I think he kind of overstepped his bounds. I'm just going to say it. What happened and is essentially, how we got PT. So everything that I've read for that is that Kojima made PT, contacted, the actors, contacted Guillermo del Toro, contacted Junji Ito, got all this stuff set up for PT and for the idea of the next Silent Hill for it, used the money he was allotted for Metal Gear 5. So he essentially committed a form of fraud by taking the money that was allotted for another project to put into another one, and then made the entire process, put it out on the marketplace, and at no point was Konami ever informed of this. So I think he kind of overstepped his bounds a little bit. I think he got a little bit too big-headed and was like, I'm Kojima, I can do whatever. This is my studio. This is Kojima Studios. And Konami just kind of basically said, it's like, no, you took our money, you took our funding, you did all this stuff without us knowing. I probably would have fired him too for that. I think removing his name from Metal Gear Solid 5 was, just kind of an asshole thing to do.
Yeah, and then not letting them finish the game.
Yeah, I think, they should have let him finish it. But to the extent of, if you wonder why, like, funding might have been an issue for Metal Gear 5, well, it's because he took X amount to make PT. And then because it was all attached to him and all that, if they released it or they did anything, you got to pay Norman Reedus' money. You got to pay Toro's money. Like, all these people continue to get money. I think he just massively overstepped his bounds.
That's crazy, too, because everybody wanted that.
Oh, I wanted PT. I knew people who bought a PS4 because PT was on it and it was free.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Hey,
I liked it. If I was Konami and the fact that they outsource everything, even my issues with it, I still probably would reach out to Kojima and be like, hey, you still want to make a Silent Hill game?
Yeah, he'll probably say F you in every language.
Yeah, in every one of them, and then he'll just go ahead and take he'll be like, I'll just make another game and call it Quiet Mountain or something like that.
Yep.
But we keep going off on these tangents. This was supposed to be like a most underrated. We're at almost 2 hours on here. So I think we might need to split the overrated ones into a completely separate video because I'm already looking at editing 2 hours. I don't want to have to make it 3.
And my stomach, my ribs are touching right now.
It's been good talking to you. You can find me online at Twitter at SnitchezRR. That's at SNITCHEZRR. K-Ray, you can find online at YouTube and Twitter. What's your handles on there?
Everything is KWire Gaming, so you can find me on Instagram, the Facebook fan page, Twitter, KWire Gaming, and YouTube. But just to give you a little forewarning, the copyright gods have been coming for me on YouTube. So I got 200 videos on there. You can go check it out. You can watch it and all that. But if you're looking for something to be posted that's new, until we figure out what they're going to do, I have no right to post. So I might do a temporary channel. So yeah, but everything KWire Gaming if you're looking for me.
All right. Like I said, man, it's been good talking to you. I look forward to doing the next episode.
I can't wait.